Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 7 Episode 19 Genesis. This is an awesome episode. Next Generation is my favorite all-time Star Trek series. I need to talk about it more, man. It was so good. It came out in the 80s. It ended in the 90s. Season 7 was sadly its last season. But boy, they went off with a bang. Their series finale is the best series finale in Star Trek history. And as we all know, that got completely retconned because it was an alternate future. And now we saw the events of the real future in New Trek. Anyways, this was a really good, creepy horror type episode. It was directed by none other than Gates McFadden. This was her, I can't remember how many episodes she directed, but this was one. And, she had a hard time on Next Generation. She got fired after season 1. She came back in season 3. When she did, they kept reducing her role. She didn't get along with the showrunner. When she came back in the movies, they still didn't have much for her to do. She wanted to quit again. She's always had a hard time on this series, which is quite a shame. She's a great actress. She's so cool and everything. And she always interacting with the fans on Twitter. Not with me, however. You can answer everybody else, you can't answer me. Anyways, so this was a horror episode. And it still holds up to this day. It's still one of the best horror episodes in Star Trek history. The Macro Virus and Voyager was good, but not as good as this. That episode of I forget what it's called in DS9. The other space station that Garrett went to, and he became a killer and everything. That was a really good episode, but this is still better. The makeup department, boy, they outdid themselves in this episode. They truly did. It's funny. People love this episode, but they hate the spider episode in the Orville season 3. Why? I don't understand it. People say that was just stupid, but they love this episode. So that don't make no sense. It's probably New Trek fans. I've noticed, this is so weird, and this is honest to God true. At one point in time, the Orville was trending on Twitter. I'm all like, did they get renewed? Not yet. I'm still scared. It might not get renewed. But anyway, I just don't think it's gonna get renewed. They're desperately pushing the Disney Plus on them, and it's just I don't see it happening, sadly. But anyway. It was a bunch of whiny people talking about, I didn't want to watch the Orville at first because of the toxic Orville fans always talking about Orville is better than New Trek and blah, 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 and crap like that. But I like the Orville now, but I didn't want to watch it because the Orville fans are so toxic to the Star Trek fans. First things first, Orville fans are Star Trek fans. They're older Star Trek fans. 2, the Orville is better than New Trek. You just can't deny it. It just is. Even people who love New Trek even say the Orville is 10 times better and everything than New Trek. It's just how it is. And so I hate when people do that crap trying to get something canceled. It's kind of how when the Birds of Prey fans, the movie, tried to get people that hate the Sonic movie and everything, or when white people tried to get black people that hate Black Panther movie. It's kind of like that. It's so weird. Just let people enjoy crap, man, and accept what it is. It's better than New Trek. But in this episode, it's a little comedic at times. You see people just, doing things that you normally would never see them do. So it pretty much just starts off with people in sick bay. Commander Riker has a bunch of, I think, porcupine quills on him because he was in the Arboretum. And then so he was trying to impress this one person and this one lady friend of his. That man was a player. I think he got more than Kirk, I think. And so he's hurt and he's laying on, at one point he's laying on the medical bed, having them pulled out and everything. That was very uncharacteristic and everything. We see Barclay Hypochondriac that he is. I feel for him because I'm a little bit of a one too sometimes. And especially with all these viruses now popping up and stuff, man. And so like he thinks he has some type of like dying illness. And so the doctor runs a scan and turns out he just has a mild case of the flu. But after doing a deeper research into his genes, it turns out one of his T cells is very dormant. So she gives him a synthetic T cell injection to activate that one dormant gene. And so then, we get like the captain and everybody on the bridge. And I like the Barkley character. He was such a cool character in TNG. He was a character who was not perfect. And in Gene's Roddenberry future, people were perfect, and he was not. He was very flawed, but he was a genius and everything. He just didn't have no confidence, and he had some of the best episodes in TNG. Then he came over to Voyager and everything, and he was a little bit more confident in everything, but he would still have some cool episodes, just not as cool as TNG. Mostly his episodes were filler. I like his first appearance in Voyager, and I like his last appearance. Everything in between is just kind of like, I don't know, it was just filler and stuff like that. And so in a way, on the bridge, Worf he's very proud of himself, you know what I'm saying? He's like improved the phasers, he's improved the torpedoes and everything, and he's ready to show off his accomplishments. Only until he botched something up, and now he's sad. He's so sad. He's just so sad and everything. And the captain kind of throws him a little bit of shade and everything. And Riker does too a little bit. Now it makes sense for Riker, but not Picard. And so Picard's all like, I'll just go after it in the shuttle and everything, and I'll go get it. He takes Data with him. Riker doesn't want him to go because, he's the captain. The captain's supposed to stay on the bridge and stuff like that. But he's all like, nah, I can do this myself and everything. Like he's just tired of sitting in that chair, And so Worf is very ashamed and everything that his torpedo went off course. And it went in a kind of like a zigzag pattern almost and did like a curve. And it was just so weird looking at it doing that. And so like, before Data can go, he has like something he has to attend to. So he gives Barkley his cat, and Spot is about to give birth. Now Spot was, I think, originally a boy when Spot first showed up. Then they made her a girl, I think. And so he's all like, she's getting ready to give, getting ready to shoot her load out and give out some kittens and everything. And Barkley, he's kind of like, I shouldn't be responsible enough to babysit a cat. And he's all like, but she's the only person you like on the ship and everything. Everybody else she scratches and crap. And so like Barkley finds her like a nice spot to give her litter. And then he's all like, well, who's the father? And Data's all like, there's about, I don't know how many, like 19 or so like cats, male cats like on the ship. But Data does something very fun. This is what I love. They gave him humor in a very serious way, and it comes off great. This is what I love. This is why I don't like New Trek, like Discovery. They throw in corny humor, campy corny humor, and it just takes me out of like focus and stuff. But here Data's all like, he's going to do a thorough search of like all the male cats and find out who is the father. And it's like a very funny scene, but in a serious kind of way. But then of course the captain calls him and he has to go. So they're going to be gone for a couple of days now. Well, on the ship, Worf is very acting like weird. I can't really explain. He's just acting weird. He can't sleep at night. He's restless. And you notice something is weird with him. You hear the music starting to change, getting a little darker and stuff. And so Worf hops out of his bed. He rips his bed apart. He takes the lining inside and he throws it on the floor and he sleeps on the floor like an animal. But why? Then the next day and everything, he's like in 10-4, he's eating some really disgusting looking stuff. And one of them looks like a squid or octopus or something. And he's just eating it like an animal, like a barbarian, like a warrior, like Klingons do. But we've never seen Worf eat like a Klingon before, even though Klingons eat very much with their hands and rip their food apart with their teeth and stuff like that. And Diana's there. Now, this is when they were starting their little relationship thing. Personally, for me, I love the idea of Worf and Diana together more than Diana and Riker. Diana and Riker was more of the obvious, but he doesn't want her. He just doesn't want her to have no other man. But he moves on with tons of different women, so why can't she move on? You know what I'm saying? So when those two got back together in the movies, I was very pissed. But at least he got to have Dax. But, you know, it just wasn't the same. You know what I'm saying? It was weird because Dax is a very lovely woman. But with him and Troy, it was like Beauty and the Beast and everything. And I really loved that. It was just out of nowhere. And that's why the writers wrote that. And, you know, so he's eating like an animal and she wants caviar. And he's all like, caviar for lunch. And everything. She's like, I'm in the mood for something salty. Now, Brandon Braga wrote this episode, so he wrote that line. Just use your imagination. Think in the windows and everything. So, anyways, at some point in time, some of the crew start acting a little weird. Like, Riker is starting to act kind of stupid and starting to lose his memory. And he can't focus and everything. He's asking Geordi for help, and is that like a good idea and stuff. Geordi's barely in this episode. I don't know what the heck happens to Geordi in this episode, but he disappears after we last see him in the Jeffries tube and stuff with Barclay. Speaking of which, him and Barclay are in the Jeffries tube. Barclay's acting weird. He's acting erratic. He's talking very fast. He's acting very jittery. When he's in like the turbo, what's that place called? Not the turbo lift. The Jeffrey tube. Boy, I'm losing my Star Trek mind. I don't really watch Star Trek no more because I don't like new Trek. Anyway. He's there in the Jeffrey tubes, and they found out some type of organic substance has eaten through the bulkhead or whatever, and they don't know what it is. After that, we don't see Geordi no more. Where is he at? The heck if I know. He got completely written out of this episode. And so, like, on the bridge, Deanna is in charge, and this is very rare. We normally really don't get to see her in the captain's chair, but it's nice. But she's like freezing for whatever reason, and she's very thirsty. She's constantly drinking water, and she's constantly turning the temperature up. Well, Worf is all like, it is too hot in here, which doesn't make no sense because he's a Klingon and he likes the heat. Like, remember in First Contact, the movie, everybody was burning up from the heat because the board made it hot on there, and like everybody else was taking off their uniforms, and he's the only one still in uniform and everything. He can take the heat. So, yeah, but he thinks it's too hot. So she keeps changing the temperature, and he keeps changing the bath. Then she's all like, I'm going to take a bath in her quarters. I'm just kind of like, that was kind of unexpected. So then she's taking a bath, and she's taking it with her uniform on. And I like the way her bath look. Her bathtub is very sci-fi looking, which is what's pissing me off about New Trek. Nothing looks sci-fi anymore for the most part. Some things do, but they look a lot of modern. And so Worf shows up, and he's like, I must have you and everything. And she's like, what are you doing here? And then so she's just still taking a bath while he's in the room, and she's just like, I don't care. It's like weird. It's almost like they're in a relationship. It's like, okay, whatever. You want to see me take a bath? You can see me take a bath, but with my clothes on. And then he bites her cheek and everything. Now, of course, this is a Klingon mating ritual when you bite the cheek. So she's in sick bay and everything, and they have Worf with security guards there, and Deanna's just so thirsty, and, you know, Troy is like examining her, and she finds an unusual substance within Diana. Then she scans Worf, and there's something unusual with his DNA. They don't know what's the world going on, but she sees a sac on his neck, and she said it looks venomous. Like a fool, she asks him to open his mouth, and then he like sprays out this like green, like venomous mist type lasery looking stuff. Boy, he scorched her face. We don't get to see it scorched, but she has her hands on her face. She's screaming, she's hollering. It's an awesome scene. And so Nurse Magawa, who's pregnant at this time, and they were talking to Data about the kittens and everything like that. And Data also has some more humor where he's all like, "I can assist you or assist your boyfriend because he's gonna be going through some times and all this other crap. It's gonna be like some tough times for him with you being pregnant and everything." So anyway, she's now taking over as the head like doctor, which is weird because Crusher literally says, contact the other two doctors on the ship. Now, we saw one doctor before, a Vulcan lady, who was in season 2, who also played the Q lady in Voyager. And so I think Soren's her name or something like that. And it's all, no, that's somebody else. Anyway, but there's 2 other doctors on the ship, but we never get to see them and stuff. We always see Crusher. And so, like, 'cause it makes you wonder, are there 2 sick bays, or did one, or did they take different shifts? Like, I think there's only 1 sick bay, but they take, like, different shifts. But anyway, but Ogawa is taking over, and she's all like, Crush is gonna need reconstruction on her face and everything, and a lot of the crew are sick, and they're not feeling very well. And Riker's still a little bit, absent-minded in the head. Don't know why. Like, we don't know what the world's going on and what's going on with Worf and everything. Then it cuts from that, and then we see Picard and we see Data coming back to the ship, and the ship is now tilted. So, they go into the docking bay and they're in the ship as it's tilted. But of course, it looks like it's sunny side up and everything. And so everything's dark in there. The power's turned off. They don't know what's going on. It's a mystery. And so they're roaming the corridors and they start to hear voices, but they sound like animals. Data said he can distinguish 300 different voices. What the world's going on? Why does everybody sound like an animal? They go roaming around. And I forget where they go first. But at some point they do go to the bridge, and a man's chest has literally been ripped apart and everything. There are spider webs on the bridge. As they're like scanning the crew, going like, around the ship trying to figure out what's going on, they can Data senses that or scans that there's something wrong in their DNA and everything. And then I think they go to Troy's quarters. That's probably where they went first. I can't really remember. It's been a while since I saw this. And so when they go to her quarters, they realize there's water like everywhere. And it's really hot in there. And we see her face down in the tub. When they pull her out, my God, she looks like a frog lady. Has frog fingers and everything. Data's doing some more scans and realizes, somehow she has de-evolved into like an earlier animal from like her DNA and everything. That's why she has gill slits on her and stuff. And it's insane. So is everybody de-evolved? Oh boy, you bet your sweet behind they are. And so they realize she has a wound on her and it has Klingon saliva in it. So they realize it must have been Worf, but where is Worf and everything? So as they're going more around the ship, it's dark, it's creepy, it's eerie. The mood is awesome, you know what I'm saying? They go down to engineering at some point, and we get to see Spider Barkley. Barkley looks amazing. He looks like a man spider. Why have they not done this in Marvel in the live-action Spider-Man movies? Turn him into Man Spider already. So Barkley's scaring the piss out of them and everything as there's cobwebs everywhere. Like I said, I don't know where Geordi's at. We don't even get to see him transforming it and everything. So then they all like, okay, let's go to the bridge. When they went to the bridge, that's when they found that dude ripped apart. Now this is what bugs me in the episode. When they go to the bridge, it's just one scene to another. And they come out of the captain's ready room, which makes no sense. That's not the turbo lift. And then they hear a noise in the captain's ready room. So they go in there. But they just came out of that room. I hate that era in filming. How did they not spot this? Well, inside the ready room is Riker. And Riker has turned into some type of like caveman type thing. And Data literally tells him his skull has increased, his brain is tinier, he might not understand us, but Picard is still trying to talk to him. So Data has to shoot him and everything. And so they take him to like, sick bay and they start running some tests, and it turns out, yeah, something has happened and has de-evolved him and stuff. And so they have to find a cure, of course. And he lets Picard know whatever has affected the crew is affected him as well. And Picard might turn into a lemur and everything. Picard don't like this. And everything. So, um, at some point in time, Data's all like, so all the computer systems are down. So they have to go to Data's room because it has an independent power source. Pretty convenient, especially for the plot. And so they realize, what's been going on and stuff like that. And they see Spot. Spot is now an iguana. But Spot's kittens are normal. They're cats and they don't understand how. So after doing some scans and everything, with an engineering tricorder, which is not supposed to tell them anything medical, but whatever, I'll let it slide because I love Star Trek. And so it's determined that like when Spot was giving birth, she was in the process of transforming and something protected the babies. But what? And Picard realizes that it must have been the immune system in the mother's womb because there's all kind of different things that help filter out germs and stuff. So they realize, okay, all they have to do is find a pregnant woman and get some of her DNA and do some like medical magic stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so in a scientific kind of way. And he realizes that Nurse Ogawa is pregnant. So that was a nice foreshadowing in the earlier part of this episode. And so as they head back, and they're in sick bay, and they find Ogawa, who looks like a monkey almost. And she looks almost like a primate and a monkey. She looks like that thing from Doom Patrol, that girl and stuff. But anyway, they start to hear some banging and creature noises. And they don't know what it is, but then they scan, they find out it is DNA being rewritten, but it has Klingon DNA. It's Worf, and boy, Worf is horny. And they're all like, well, they don't understand. Is he there to eat them or what? Picard is now starting to feel the effects of the virus. It's starting to make him fearful and everything. So he doesn't understand what's going on. And so, they realize that he can't be he's not hungry because he would have ate people as he came here. So then Picard realizes, oh, wait, Troy had like a mating wound on her face. And so Worf sees her as his mate. So he wants himself some Troy. And everything. And so they just can't leave her there because he'll you know what I'm saying? So they realize they can get her pheromones and just spray it on the ship and he'll follow that. So first Data's gonna go because he knows that he can fight War. But here's the crazy thing. Picard takes out his phaser first, right? And Data tells him, maximum stun is not gonna work on Worf because he's a lot stronger now. And you can't set it to kill because it will literally kill him. So Picard puts away his phaser, but then at some point before they came up with the whole pheromone thing, Data takes out his phaser and he points it at the door. He is going to protect his captain, which means he plans on killing Worf. My God. A lot of people didn't even pick that up, but Data was willing to kill him and stuff. Remember when Data tried to kill that man who kidnapped him and made him into a living toy? Yeah. So this is where they came up with the whole pheromone thing. So he gets a hormones gene from her or whatever, and they make a pheromone, and Picard runs around the ship spraying it. It works. It works too well. And it's a chase. They go through the turbo lift and everything. Picard goes in there. He's trying to get to deck 17, but can't. He goes up into the Jeffries suit. Worf breaks open the door and he he's searching for Picard. Worf makeup looks great. It's played by his stunt actor and everything. Next thing you know, he shoots acid down from the ceiling from above and it goes on Picard's hands. And Picard has been already dropped the pheromone thing. So Picard, he does something that makes no sense. He's going to electrocute Worf. He takes a piece of metal that's attached to a door. He puts it on the floor board. He stands on, crawls on top of it. Then he electrocutes the entire like Jeffries tube. It works. It electrocutes the crap out of Worf. But why didn't it electrocute Picard? Metal on metal should have electrocuted him and everything. Maybe there's some protective like elements inside the metal that like protected Picard. I don't know. But anyway, Data conveniently like calls him and everything and tells him he's ready to start putting this in the ship's filters and everything and start having to come out the vents and everything. And Picard's all like he'll just be waiting, and you see a terrified look on Picard. He's having to wait in the Jeffries tube with Worf, and Worf could wake up at any second. It's the lemur part of him taking over, being very scared and everything. You really feel for Picard because he is terrified. Anyways, next scene, we see Crusher. Her face is all repaired. She's talking to Barclay and everything. And she's telling him, it's her fault and everything. When she reactivated that one dormant gene, it reactivated all his dormant genes. Then that started to spread throughout the ship, reactivating everybody's dormant gene from back in the ancestry days and stuff. And so she names the virus after him. And Troy's all like, oh, gee, I better like clear out my schedule for a whole week because he's going to be all crazy now. This was a really great episode, man. It was just amazing. And I love seeing Captain Picard in like the hero spot. You don't get to see it because, of course, he is the captain. And they changed this in TNG from the original series. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.